How's it going, everyone? Austin Honecker here. I just wanted to come on here for a while and give a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite from 10 nights ago, which was January 4th, 2023. I gotta say, it was awesome from start to finish. For the matches, match 1, it was Ricky Starks versus Chris Jericho. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Ricky Starks went over with the spear. Now, after the match, the Jericho Appreciation Society, which are Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Daniel Garcia, Matt Menard, Angelo Parker, Anna Jay, and Ty Mello came out and attacked Ricky Starks and was beating the shit out of him, and Chris Jericho joined in. And as that was going on, Action Andretti came out with a steel chair and attacked the Jericho Appreciation Society, which are Angelo Parker, Matt Menard, Daniel Garcia, and Jake Hager, and also Chris Jericho with a steel chair. And Action Andretti stood tall. Well, Anna Jay and Ty Mello, Anna Jay distracted Action Andretti, and Ty Mello executed a low blow to Action Andretti. Well, I did forget to say, Action Andretti, he attacked Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Daniel Garcia, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker, along with Chris Jericho with the steel chair. But Anna Jay distracted Action Andretti, and Ty Mello executed a low blow to Action Andretti. And so the Jericho Appreciation Society, which are Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Daniel Garcia, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker, ganged up on Action Andretti and beat the shit out of him and laid him out. And then Matt Menard and Angelo Parker got a table and set it up outside the ring, and then Jake Hager executed a powerbomb to Ricky Starks off the apron on the table outside the ring. And so Ricky Starks and Action Andretti were laid out, while the Jericho Appreciation Society, which are Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Chris Jericho, Jake Hager, Sammy Guevara, Daniel Garcia, Matt Menard, Angelo Parker, Anna Jay, and Ty Mello stood tall and everything. That was cool. That was after the match, by the way. Match 2, it was The Acclaimed, which are Max Caster and Anthony Bowens versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal for the AEW Tag Team titles. That was a great match, but the ending to it, The Acclaimed went over and retained the AEW Tag Team titles, cause Anthony Bowens pinned Jay Lethal with a roll-up. Now, during the match, Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal had the match won because Jeff Jarrett executed the stroke to Anthony Bowens and pinned him, and Anthony Bowens had his foot on the rope, and Sanjay Dutt put Jeff Jarrett's foot off the rope, and the winners were originally Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, but Aubrey Edwards came out and informed Stephon Smith that that Jeff Jarrett's foot was on the rope. That Anthony Bowen's foot was on the rope. And so Stephon Smith and Aubrey Edwards continued the match and everything. Well, that was cool, but before the match, as Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, along with Sanjay Dutt and Satnam Singh, came out, well, The Acclaimed, which are Max Caster and Anthony Bowens, along with Billy Gunn, came out. Well, Max Caster done a rap on Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal, and then Anthony Bowens said his signature line, Seattle, the Acclaimed have arrived. And then Anthony Bowens done his other signature thing, saying, Scissor me, daddy ass! And so Anthony Bowens and Billy Gunn scissored and everything. That was cool. That was before the match, by the way. Match 3, it was Bryan Danielson versus Tony Nese. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Bryan Danielson went over with the Regal Stretch. Now, after the match, Bryan Danielson got on the microphone and cut a promo talking about how it was great to be home and how he was feeling froggy and wants to fight. And then Bryan Danielson called MJF out, so MJF came out and started and had a microphone and cut a promo. Well, MJF was calling Bryan Danielson Brain Damage Brian, and MJF was also talking about how he's not going to fight Bryan Danielson and everything, and MJF was also going on about how the only way Bryan Danielson will ever beat him, will ever get to face him, is if he goes through every opponent that MJF himself puts in front of him and everything. And then Bryan Danielson was doing the your mom jokes, and then Bryan Danielson was talking shit towards MJF, and then told MJF that he wanted to pick his stipulation for the match, and MJF let Bryan Danielson pick the stipulation. So Bryan Danielson gave proposed a 1-hour Iron Man match. Well, MJF did inform Bryan Danielson that Bryan Danielson has to compete every week until February 8th and has to win every match until February 8th. And if Bryan Danielson does win, then Bryan Danielson will get MJF at AEW Revolution for the AEW title. Well, MJF had Bryan Danielson pick the stipulation. So Bryan Danielson picked a 1-hour Iron Man match. Well, MJF was pissed off, but he agreed and everything. That was cool. That was before the match, by the way. Excuse me. That was after the match, by the way. Match 4, it was... Yeah, that was match 3, by the way. Match 4, it was Swerve Strickland versus AR Fox. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Swerve Strickland went over with the Swerve Stomp. Match 5, it was... Yeah, match 5, it was Jade Cargill and Red Velvet versus Kiera Hogan and Sky Blue. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Jade Cargill and Red Velvet went over because Jade Cargill pinned Kiera Hogan with the pump kick. And match 6, which was the main event, it was Darby Allin versus Samoa Joe for the AEW TNT title. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Darby Allin went over and retained the AEW TNT title. Excuse me. But the ending to it, Darby Allin went over and won the AEW TNT title with the coffin drop. Now, before the match, as Darby Allin, the AEW showed a vignette of Darby Allin skating to the arena and everything, and then Samoa Joe came out and put his hand... Well, as Darby Allin came out, as he skated to the arena, Darby Allin hugged his friend Nick Wayne through the crowd, and then Samoa Joe came out, and Samoa Joe attacked Nick Wayne, and as Samoa Joe put his hands on Nick Wayne, a brawl between Darby Allin and Samoa Joe occurred before the match started and everything. That was cool. That was before the match, by the way. And after the match, Sting came out to celebrate Darby Allin's victory with him and everything. That was cool. That was before the match and after the match, by the way. Now, besides the matches... Excuse me. Now, that was match 6 and the main event, by the way. Now, besides the matches, Tony Schiavone interviewed Hangman Page. Well, Tony Schiavone asked Hangman Page if he was medically cleared to compete and everything, and Hangman Page informed Tony Schiavone that he was not medically cleared to compete and everything, and Hangman Page was talking about how if him and Jon Moxley get in any more brawls, that's going to be another setback and everything, and he doesn't want that and everything. And as Hangman Page was talking, Jon Moxley came out, and Jon Moxley was talking about how he was tired of the sympathy cards and the flowers and the candlelight vigils for Hangman Page and everything, and Jon Moxley talked about how he wanted to beat the shit out of Hangman Page and everything, and Hangman Page retaliated, talking about how he's been knocked out and everything, and then Jon Moxley was making fun of Hangman Page and everything, and so Jon Moxley and Hangman Page were shit-talking each other and everything, and so Jon Moxley ended up leaving the ring, and Hangman Page was looking on and everything. That was cool. Samoa Joe cut a promo talking about how Darby Allin was a dead boy and how he wants his AEW TNT title back and everything. And Samoa Joe talked about how he was going to destroy Darby Allin and end his career and everything. That was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter. Well, Tony Schiavone brought up about Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter going up against Saraya and a partner of her choosing and everything, and then Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter were talking about how they're the AEW originals and how Saraya don't give a shit about AEW and the women's division and everything, and talked about how they themselves had to scratch and claw to get where they're at in AEW and everything, and talked about how they didn't care who Saraya chose as her partner, that they were going to take out Saraya and her partner of her choosing. They were going to take out Saraya and a partner of her choosing and everything. That was cool. Jungle Boy cut a promo talking about how within the last year he didn't know if he could trust anybody, but things have changed, and he found a new partner in Hook, and talked about how the firm, which are Stokely Hathaway, Lee Moriarty, and W. Morrissey, have been on a rampage as of late, and Jungle Boy talked about how him and Hook appeared, and Jungle Boy talked about how him and Hook were going to destroy W. Morrissey and Lee Moriarty and everything. That was cool. AEW aired a vignette of the build-up of the rivalry between Orange Cassidy and Kip Sabian for the AEW All-Atlantic title. That was cool. We know Jungle Boy promo was cool, but so was the vignette of the build-up of the rivalry with Orange Cassidy and Kip Sabian for the AEW All-Atlantic title. That was cool as well. Renee Paquette interviewed Saraya, Tony Storm, and Hikaru Shida. Well, Renee Paquette brought up about Saraya and her mystery partner going up against Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter on Dynamite and everything, and Renee Paquette asked Saraya who her partner was going to be and everything, and Saraya was talking about how Britt Baker and Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter have destroyed the AEW women's division and everything, and talked about how the women's division was great and everything, and talked about how Tony Storm and Hikaru Shida were great women's wrestlers and everything, and talked about how they had great matches against Jamie Hayter and everything, and then Tony Storm talked about how she lost her championship, her AEW women's title, to Jamie Hayter, and talked about how Britt Baker and Jamie Hayter fractured her face and everything, and then Saraya answered Saraya answered Renee Paquette's question, and Saraya chose Tony Storm as her partner, and Saraya and Tony Storm got to talking, and And as Saraya and Tony Storm got to talking, Hikaru Shida was looking on pissed off and everything. That was cool. The Guns, which are Colton and Austin Gunn, came out, and the Guns, which are Colton and Austin Gunn, were sarcastically making fun of FTR and talking about their accomplishments and everything, and talked about the new FTR podcast with Dax Harwood that no one listens to and everything, and then the Guns talked about how they beat FTR clean and everything. FTR, which are Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, clean and everything. And then FTR's music hit, and the Guns were getting ready to put up a fight, but turns out FTR didn't show up. So the Guns were making fun of the crowd and everything, and were talking shit and everything about FTR and everything. And then ended up leaving and everything. That was cool. AEW aired a vignette of the build-up of the rivalry between the Death Triangle, which are Pac, Rey Fenix, and Penta El Zero Miedo, and the Elite, which are Kenny Omega, Matt Jackson, and Nick Jackson for the AEW Trios titles in the Best of 7 series and everything. That was cool. And Renee Paquette interviewed Jeff Jarrett, Jay Lethal, Sanjay Dutt, and Satnam Singh. Well, Renee Paquette brought up about Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal losing to the Acclaimed, which are Max Caster and Anthony Bowens and everything. And Renee Paquette talked about how she received word from Tony Khan that at Battle of the Belts 5, it was going to be the Acclaimed versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal for the AEW Tag Team titles in a no-holds-barred match. Well, Jeff Jarrett was saying, you damn right it's going to be a no-holds-barred match because what you saw tonight was carny bullcrap. And Saturday and Friday night at Battle of the Belts 5, Jeff Jarrett and I, we're going to take the AEW Tag Team titles from the Acclaimed and become the AEW Tag Team champions. And everything. And then Jay Lethal... Well, that was Jeff Jarrett, by the way. Well, Jeff Jarrett ended up leaving. And Jay Lethal was disgusted and ended up leaving. And Sanjay Dutt broke his pencil and left. And Satnam Singh followed and everything. That was cool. Now, besides all that, Tony Schiavone, Taz, and Excalibur done commentary throughout the whole show. They done awesome as usual. And the referees for the event were Rick Knox, Paul Turner, Bryce Remsburg, Stephon Smith, and Aubrey Edwards. Okay. Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Ricky Starks versus Chris Jericho. Stephon Smith refereed the match between The Acclaimed versus Jeff Jarrett and Jay Lethal for the AEW Tag Team titles. Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Bryan Danielson versus Tony Nese. Rick Knox refereed the match between Swerve Strickland versus AR Fox. Paul Turner refereed the match between Jade Cargill and Red Velvet versus Kiera Hogan and Sky Blue. And Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between Darby Allin versus Samoa Joe for the AEW TNT title. All the referees done awesome as usual. Now, anyway, I just wanted to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite from 10 nights ago, which was January 4th, 2023. Like I said, it was awesome from start to finish. And with that being said, my name is Austin Honecker, and I will catch your goddamn ass down the fucking road. Peace. out.